Yesterday's price is not today's price.
I think the Bills might be the most boring team to talk about in Dynasty. And here's why. Josh Allen's QB1. All right, we knocked that out. There's not really much to talk about there. Dalton Kincaid is just a boring tight end as tight end 3. Like, I'd rather have McBride, but he's in like the same tier as Bowers. And then you have a bunch of just like sloppy wide receivers. That's about all I got for this Bills team. And then also, let's add in the fact that their new OC seemingly has zero interest in chucking the ball and just wants to run it all day. I feel like this team is just boring.
Yeah, I understand why you would say that. To me, there is some good values on this team. I just don't know what they are.
Let's rephrase that. There will be some good values on this team. We just don't know who they'll be.
Yeah, like Josh Allen, I think he's good enough to elevate league average type wide receivers. And I mean, these could be below average guys, but like Curtis Samuel, he's going off the board wide receiver 69, end of the 14th round in the startup. He's getting a lot of camp hype. He's been a Matt Harmon favorite for years. A lot of people do think he has a lot of talent. It's a wide open depth chart. I could see him going for 1,000 yards in this offense and just having like one of those random breakout seasons. Khalil Shakir, along with Dontavian Wicks and Pop Douglas, are the 3 low-cost wide receivers I've been kind of banging the drum for all offseason. I think Shakir made the most of his opportunities down the stretch last year. And then Keon Coleman, I think neither one of us are like big fans of him as a prospect. But I think his wide receiver 35 price tag, beginning of the 8th round startup pick, I think that's a very reasonable price considering how wide open the depth chart is and Josh Allen as a quarterback.
Just on the wide receivers really quick, and I don't even know how really quick this will be, but I'm going to clunkily do this kind of on the fly. You've gone through the receivers. We don't know. I think you've articulated that we don't really know who it is that's going to be good. I think Dynasty values kind of indicate that it'll be Keon Coleman based on his wide receiver 35 ADP. Here's the thing, though. Josh Allen is probably going to throw for around like 4,400 yards, maybe a little more even. And if I look at like quarterbacks that have thrown for, let's call it between 4,000, 4,600 yards, here are some of the guys that have done that over the last few years. And here's like, if there's an ambiguous wide receiver room, what has happened? Okay. So I'm going to kind of glaze over the stud wide receiver room. So like last year, for example, we had like Tua, you had Goff has ARSB or Dak has CD. Allen had Diggs last year. So like last year, the only one that may have had like an ambiguous one was Jordan Love, who had Jaden Reed kind of came out of nowhere. The year before that, 2022, for the quarterbacks that had a wide receiver room that came under the radar, you had Trevor Lawrence with the Jags. They had Christian Kirk had over 1,000 yards. They also had Zay Jones late in the year had that big that really nice run. In 2021, you had Derek Carr threw for 4,800 yards. His wide receiver room had Darren Waller, who like you have Dalton Kincaid in this team. And then it also had Hunter Renfrow, which went for over 1,000 yards. Most every other team had like a dominant type of receiver that you would just kind of point to as like being the guy. But even the teams that didn't have a guy still found a way to have a 1,000-yard receiver. Or like, for example, the Packers with Jaden Reed, they were putting the ball in his hands, running the ball. And so I think that, like you said, one of these guys is going to kind of pop. We just don't know who it is. My bet is going to be on Khalil Shakir, even though I have 0 shares. So maybe I need to make some deals to acquire him. I'm not going to bet on Keon Coleman. We've seen enough of Curtis Samuel. So you've got Khalil Shakir here on the screen, and you made a couple trades of them. So maybe run through those.
Yeah. So like we were talking about with the Patriots segment, we both love Drake May. I like him a lot higher than the market does. I would have him basically equal to Malik Neighbors. So in one of my leagues, I had Neighbors, the guy with Drake May, was trying to trade him straight up to me because he heard me say that. And I was like, nah, man, there's like a couple round value difference. Like, you got to give me something, like kind of the Denzel meme. Like, I'm leaving here with something. And so we just ended up settling on Kendre Miller and Shakir. And Kendre Miller, I don't really have much hope for. But I figured 2 dart throws, and Shakir is a guy like this where I'm trying to make a trade like this all off season where, like, if Shakir wasn't in this trade and the other guy played hardball, I would probably do the trade anyway. And so basically just get him thrown onto a trade I consider fair. And then the other one was before the rookie drafts back in like April or May. I was kind of noticing that I liked the depth of this rookie class more than most people. I liked a lot of the second round picks. I liked a lot of the early third round picks. So I traded Deontay Johnson for Shakir, the 207, which became Adonai Mitchell, and the 305, which I think became Roman Wilson. So basically just turning Deontay into like 3 dart throws.
That trade was interesting.
Yeah.
That trade was really interesting because I'm in that league. When that trade happened, everybody gave you a lot of shit for it.
Yeah, man, I was surprised.
The chat kind of erupted. The chat erupted. People started saying, like, easily Deontay Johnson. And when you look back at that deal, you got Adonai Mitchell, who is valued right in line with Deontay Johnson. You got Khalil Shakir, who seems like a nice upside dart that we're talking about. And then you got the 305, like kind of whatever there. That trade ended up being nice for you. It was kind of funny.
Yeah. So, I mean, those were the types of trades that I was trying to do basically to acquire Shakir, where, like I said, like I think he was appropriately valued in these trades, but, just kind of a smaller piece to a larger deal type thing. I wasn't really trying to trade for him individually or give up like, a couple thirds or something like that for him. But I was surprised at the reaction to that trade. I thought it would just be like one of those trades nobody comments on. And like the chat just blew up saying I just gave away a free Deontay. And I was like, wait, what? But
back to the point of Khalil Shakir, I think that he might be a nice guy to try to get chucked into a deal. Much like you did with the Drake May, Khalil Shakir for Neighbors.
Yeah, I think a lot of people would take the Neighbors side, and I don't blame them. Like if Neighbors really is that dude, like there's a decent amount of people that have Neighbors above Marvin Harrison. So if Neighbors just has 150 targets this year and so like shows that he's awesome, I get it. I mean, I'm just betting on Drake May like I have.
Yeah, and on the counter side, if Drake May really is that dude, then there's really nothing that Malik Neighbors can do to be above that value-wise. So
yeah, exactly. I think that pretty much covers the Bills. I mean, Ray Davis, I kind of like at cost RB50, but I don't know that we need to really talk about him.